Wow. I want to just go back for a minute to probably the morning or that I called you and texted you and said, hey, you know, there's this person who wants to see a lease and I think you would be great for them. That was prior to you showing Adrian in the first place.
Yep.
And then you just said, great, like you always do. You're always willing to show up and meet whoever and qualify them and see if it's going to work out. So you met him and showed him the place.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just heard briefly that you hadn't met the other two roommates and there was a bit of a lag and you didn't know if it was disinterest or not. So there was
Yes.
kind of a lull.
Yep.
Okay. Remind me of how then that day where I called you back and said, okay, I figured it out. Will you consider working with them again?
Well, I think that was amazing. And I think that was the missing piece here, because typically when you're working with roommates or a couple or anybody who's more than one decision maker in a property, you should not be doing a showing with just one of the three or one of the two. It's really not going to work out well for anybody. Of course, everybody's work schedules are different. So if it's an exception, then that's fine, especially if you've already met all of the parties. But in this case here, I think one of the issues was that the first showing was done with just Adrian without his roommates. So there was no rapport built with the other two roommates. And also there was no introduction moment with those other roommates. So that made the entire conversation definitely one-sided. So I feel like the most important thing is to have everybody who is the decision maker in a real estate transaction to be present at least for the first conversation. That is the ideal. So going forward, that's obviously something I strive to do. And in this case, you having connected all of them together back to me, I think was the missing piece. I wasn't sure at that point whether, because they had said that their timeline was not strict. They didn't say, I'm going to be homeless in a month if I don't move. They said, we want to move in by summer. So it wasn't a specific time frame. So I feel that when there was a lag after the first showing, I wasn't sure whether it was their timeline being readjusted or even potentially the other roommates having been connected with another realtor or finding something privately. So there was definitely the wild card aspect to it. And also, I'm the kind of realtor who probably should follow up a little bit more, to be honest, but I also don't want to be harassing somebody. So I did send him a couple of messages and I thought, okay, let's just wait and see what happens at that point. Right. So thank you, Catharine, for having that phone call with Adrian and for reconnecting everybody together.
Well, thank you. It was actually kind of a Sherlock Holmes moment because the other two had been connected to, all three people had been connected to me because that's how listed works. It connects you to the person that you're connected to. So when they got connected to me, and because I don't trade and don't take referrals either, I just would share it with someone. I just want the consumer to get a good agent. So when I had their inquiry, I actually referred them each to a different agent. So now we've got three people, each with a different agent. And I had brought back to them, okay, Adrian, you worked with Christina, your other roommate worked with another agent, your other roommate was going to be set up with another agent, but it was not possible, it was a snowstorm, so I was going to go meet them on behalf of that third agent I would have connected them to. But I discovered at one point they were all connected. You know, when the second realtor that their other roommate was texting at the same moment that, so you're reaching one, I'm reaching out with one, and a third one had this other agent. I thought, okay, everybody needs to get on the same page. They need to learn the difference between a cooperating agent, a listing agent, and self-representation, right? And because Adrian kind of took the lead and he had such a great experience with you, it did not surprise me. They chose you. And then it was very easy for me to then connect everyone and get listed to connect them all to you so that everybody was on the same page. And then it was seamless from there on out. But it really, you know, as the CEO of Listed and wanting to make this app that really is the best for consumers and the best for realtors, and understanding it's not technology, it's the relationship. This is all about timing and relationship. That's what worked. That's what Adrian was just saying was great. So I'm always trying to figure out how I can make the best tools, how our team can make the best tools for consumers. And part of that is soft. It's not the technology, it's the knowledge. So I don't know. Do you have any ideas about how we could get better at that?
Well, one thing I think is fantastic about the app is that realtors who take their business seriously and who want to elevate their game, they are naturally drawn like, a moth to a flame to the app, because this is something that is not provided from the Toronto Real Estate Board. This is something that we pay out of pocket for. There's a shiny object syndrome, especially in real estate, where you go to a conference or a trade show and everybody has a booth and they all want a piece of the money that you're making. They promise you shiny objects that are going to solve your problems, but many of them actually create more problems, or they're not the actual solution. So when you and I were connected about 4 years ago now at the Oria Reality Conference, I had
Before
already...
the app was even out hardly. It was like
it was
in beta.
still in beta phase.
Yeah.
Yes. So I had started to hear about it because I am very focused in technology and looking to establish the best systems that are going to make my business easier, but also easier for the clients that I'm working with.
Yep.
So as soon as we had an opportunity to talk, I knew immediately that it was going to solve a lot of the concerns that I was feeling in my real estate business. I was juggling multiple apps before I found yours. And even if my clients aren't using your app for whatever reason, I personally use it as a realtor as well to keep me organized on showings. It's great for searching for properties. It's great for creating lists that I share with my clients. The interface is so user-friendly. So many of my clients, they end up adopting the app simply because I'm sharing listings from the app as well. But I think that great realtors are going to self-filter and they're going to realize that this is an amazing tool that is going to elevate their business, but also provide an exceptional client and consumer experience.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Well, I remember our first meeting at iReality, and I had barely showed you a little demo, and you were already wheels turning, making fabulous suggestions. And I remember your exact suggestion. It was that on the cell, so when you're looking at listings in the list view, or when it shows up at the bottom of the map, you wanted to be able to see right on the first cell
how many bedrooms and bathrooms without clicking the listing. Yes.
And parking.
And parking. Oh.
And then later we innovated and added square footage.
It's fantastic. And I think it's a testament to you and your team that you guys are able to pivot and implement things so quickly. That's what's really needed, especially in the tech space. But you were able to take my constructive feedback and implement it right away, which also gave me further confidence in the app. But I just love how you're constantly contacting me about, hey, we just added this, we're working on this. You're constantly making it a better experience for everybody involved, not just the realtors, but the consumers. And at the end of the day, this is about just making the transaction easier for everybody.
Everyone.
There does not have to be this amount of slowdown in the transaction from apps that are like, consumers are using multiple different apps at the same time, different websites, they're not all up to date, the interface isn't as user friendly. We just need to be able to search for real estate, search for it in real time, get the answers that we need quickly, be able to communicate that information to each other. So the consumers communicate it to their realtor, the realtor communicates it to their clients.
Yep.
And that circle just has to just move a lot smoother for everybody. So this app, honestly, it just answers all of those questions and it just makes it a seamless process. It really is.
Thank you. We work so hard at that. And your perception is that we're responsive and I reach out to you, but I will say that is back at you. That is because you will actually reach out to us and you know that it's welcomed and received. When a realtor reaches out to us, whether it's our support team or whether they get me directly, because I'm always available, I make myself highly available for anybody. That two-way conversation is really what makes it better. Mm-hmm. And here's an interesting thing that I think even a lot of realtors don't know. So there is more than one MLS. You mentioned the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board. That's TREB. I will say that TREB has gone out of its way to make their technology top notch. they would probably adopt listed in a heartbeat if John and Michelle just had the single vote to do that. But it's an association. They have a board of directors. They meet 12 times a year. Things need to go through RFP. Like, I think the best thing any real estate board can do is give its members choice of systems so that the systems themselves can be tested out by the realtors, and the realtors can pick them and just give them access so that, you know, kind of the best person wins the day or something like that. Because when you have a group of people who aren't in the tech space, who are busy realtors themselves, making decisions for 70,000 members.
I think it's 80,000 now.
80,000.
Who knows?
There's a lot of pressure.
Exponential.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure on them. And so I really understand that. And then let's just say, so the other thing is, because they're not in the tech space, it's not surprising they don't have the most cutting edge technology. But let's say they did have the most cutting edge technology. The second problem, and this is the part that I don't know if other people know, there are all kinds of other real estate boards. Like alone in Ontario, there are fewer now because they're amalgamating, but there's 36 still, or there was like 70, but now there's about 36. Mm-hmm. So there's TREB, there's ORB, there's RAB, there's the whole conglomerate that joined ITSO, the Information Technology System. So even if you had the best app, if you're making it yourself as any MLS, you have a natural challenge, which is not having all the listings on it.
Absolutely.
But unfortunately, as a realtor, when you show up, your competitor brokerages who join all these different boards do have all the listings. So those realtors who are part of one board, you know, who's not with a brokerage that's joined to all these boards, actually doesn't have all the listings. But you might ask, why don't all the brokerages join all the boards? That's incredibly expensive. There's only one or two brokerages.
And there's some complications with that too.
Some big complications, yeah.
So it might not affect, personally for me, it doesn't affect me day to day because I primarily trade within the Toronto Real Estate Board.
Yeah.
I like to trade where I know, obviously, and provide the excellent expertise. However, it is very helpful that my past clients who love to use Listed, they were introduced to Listed through working with me through their transaction, or I also have shared the app with them so then they can keep an eye on when their neighborhoods has a new listing, or if they're curious about something, they can always search things on their own as well. So they love it. But they love that if they're searching for a cottage or if they're searching for a property outside of the Toronto Real Estate Board, they can use Listed and find it as well. And then they come back to me and they say, hey, actually, I saw this really cool property in Niagara. Do you work in Niagara? And I say, no, I'm sorry, Niagara is not part of my specialty. And they say, can you connect me with someone who does? And that has created referral relationships for me as well, because I do already have contacts in those areas. But by my clients searching on their own in those areas, just out of curiosity about properties that are outside of their Toronto Real Estate Board area, I can then connect them to someone who is the right agent for their needs. So that has also helped my referral business.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so on that note, you know, Listed is not a brokerage and there are no referral fees. And if you were to now say want to connect to somebody you didn't know, or maybe you do know, but like in Vancouver or somewhere else, the important thing is we have technology relationships as an approved technology third-party provider with real estate boards across Canada. So you're able to give your clients everything. And to me, the key is they have everything through you. They don't know the realtor in Niagara yet. And I feel like traditionally with referrals, realtors are stuck running around getting a referral agreement before their clients even decided what city they want to live in or which place they want to buy a cottage in. But when your clients can look with you on Listed, and then you can say, look, this person is going to meet you at 4 o'clock on Friday at the pub in Central City, and they meet, and you have that kind of introduction that you wished you'd had to Adrian and his two roommates at the very beginning?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think it's fantastic that also I'm able to connect to so many real estate boards. So my clients, they absolutely love that feature.
Yeah.
And many decisions to buy a secondary property or to make a big life-changing move, they happen gradually. They might happen during Thanksgiving dinner on a Sunday evening when they're all just relaxing after the turkey and browsing listed. And they just start browsing a little bit further than they were previously looking before. And then now suddenly you're in a territory that I don't specialize in. So then they're able to still see those properties and casually begin their exploratory search in those areas.
Yep.
And then when they're ready, they reach out to me and I connect them with one of my referral partners who I trust is going to take great care of them. So at the end of the day, it's just about making the experience a lot smoother because, as you mentioned, they may not be ready or they may not know where they want to move to. So just by being able to start browsing what's available in such a lovely interface, so many of my clients, they say, as I'm watching Netflix, I have listed open in my hand. Actually, I think that's how we found our house. that we were just on Netflix and relaxing on an evening and browsing listed with the other hand. You know, many people have two screens in front of them at the same time nowadays. So my clients love the interface that they can just be multitasking and browsing on listed. And it's such a easy to use app. And it can also help if you're just not, even if you're in the exploratory phases of your real estate journey, it can also help give consumers the information they need to help educate them on what their next step could be. Because meeting with an agent in Niagara might be too soon for that person. They're not ready for that step yet. So first they want to see, if I potentially looked for detached houses in Niagara, what could that search look like? And they can do that from the palm of their hand.
Yeah.
But back to the Toronto Real Estate Board, I wanted to compliment you on the integration of Realm in listed as well. So as an agent, that's something that I use every day with the app. So I'm able to search properties on listed and then click in the corner and open that up into Realm. Realm is the Toronto Real Estate Board app and website as well for searching for real estate. It's their back-end MLS system, which we can also give our clients access to, although many of my clients prefer the easy to use listed interface. But the key is that I can access additional information that I may need on the MLS system in one click. So Realm will prompt me to log in to the Toronto Real Estate Board and I'm able to access that information. So previously I had to type in the MLS number into my computer and then search from Realm, but now I'm able to do that in just one click through listed. So that's a really great workflow for me. I'm often using the listed interface to find the properties and identifying them in lists. But when it goes to the next step of preparing an offer, I do need information that's not displayed on listed, and I can do that in one click. So that connection is fantastic.
Amazing. Okay, well, kudos to Treb for making it easy and seamless for us, because no other real estate board across Canada, other than Treb, has made it as easy to integrate and create a product that is seamless for you guys. So your clients find it, or you find something unlisted, you tap those three dots, say open in Realm, it looks at your face and you're in.
Yep.
You can book a showing, you can get other details, broker remarks, things like that. So
So I'm not asking for more information to be on listed because I feel like the right information is there at my fingertips. But in terms of booking a showing or seeing the attachments that are on a listing or viewing some of those broker remarks, those are things that I do need the Realm system for. So I'm able to do that in an instant. But I love that the information that I do need to make educated decisions on the next steps with properties is at my fingertips with listed.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Okay, well, I want to ask you about this then, because this is so important to me. One of the driving forces that led me to create Listed was back to Adrian, the bad experience I had as a consumer walking down the street and just wanted to see this cute little house that I saw. And I called the sign and I couldn't reach anyone. And then I Googled it and there was 5,000 realtors and it was terrible. And I thought, wow, I just want to have a great realtor and a seamless experience. And a magic button that I just push and then the property information that I need as a consumer pops up. But then the minute I need to do something about it, like the ability to reach somebody. But real estate itself doesn't make it easy to create this. So to the credit of our competitors who, like me, wanted to make something better, they went and became brokerages. Because quite honestly, it's much easier to do that. And then they get a bunch of consumers as leads and then hire agents to do a 50-50 commission split. And that's their business model. And I just thought that was lose-lose for everyone, because it's like you're getting an agent who doesn't have any clients or any business. So they join a brokerage that's going to give them leads. The brokerage is in the business of lead giving. So then they are kind of starting on a half tank of gas just to get a lead. So now they have to make sure that works out. And then the minute they start to grow their client base, probably going to leave that brokerage, right? Because now they want to go somewhere where there's a better commission split and they're starting to grow their business. So that there was no way we could ever become a brokerage. That just seems like a backward business model to me. And I never saw it as like making so much money by being a brokerage and getting the commissions. I thought, if we make the best tool for agents and they pay a reasonable annual fee or monthly fee for listed, the smart ones pay annually, then we could actually have everyone in alignment and attract the top agents. Because I wanted consumers to only get a great agent like you. So of the other agents on listed, you know a lot of them, and they're the people you see at Realtor Quest and iReality and these other Canadian.
Because as I mentioned, they're all people who are looking to elevate their business and are willing to invest to do so.
Yeah.
And honestly, the cost is very reasonable for how much time it saves. I almost don't want to tell you that, but it saves so much time. It's something I use every single day, multiple times a day. So it is something that, to me, maybe someone at the beginning feels like, oh, I have to pay for another thing, but it truly is a time saver. And it's one of those like desert island things that if I had to, have only a few things in my arsenal for real estate, that's something I definitely would bring with me. So I think that's a key thing. And realtors who do want to elevate their game and make things simpler on their client side and also on their side as well, even just as a tool for showings and for simplifying the showing process, makes it so much simpler. So I feel that many more people should be adopting listed. And the main thing that I love so much that you've touched on is that it's a realtor membership that we pay for the app. There's no fee for the clients to use it.
That's right.
So there's no barrier to entry for that. It wouldn't make sense if they had to pay a fee for them to be able to access it, or else they would say no and then end up using an inferior product. So I love your business model.
Thank
I
you.
also love that there is no affiliation to a brokerage.
Yeah.
So I feel like my information is in a trusted space. And I also feel that your goal since day one, since the moment I met you, has been to make this process a lot simpler for everybody involved, especially consumers.
Yes.
Like a consumer can be standing on the sidewalk. They're going for a walk on a lovely day to the farmer's market, and they see a for sale sign go up. They want to know right away, how much is the house? How many bedrooms does it have? Some houses in Toronto are deceptively large. They're a 12-foot wide attached row house in Little Italy, but how big is it? Does it have a basement? Does it have parking hidden in the back? Is it a good option for me and my family? So in seconds, you can just tap on listed, your location, and you can see the listing right in front of you. You can see all the pictures, you can see the information. So I love that interface. It's consumer designed just to make the process a lot easier.
Thank you so much. Okay, that means so much to me, because just like we're never going to be a brokerage and we're brokerage agnostic, we're MLS agnostic. We actually, a lot of tech companies think, and you might have known this with some other companies that I won't mention the name of, they think, oh, if I could just get into the MLS, I'll hit it out of the ballpark, I can sell my company and then move on. And it's really short-term thinking for me, because you don't have product longevity. When those things happen, you start to notice the product gets worse. It's not as pervasive. It doesn't spread as easily. And one of the things with disruptive direct-to-consumer apps, because the other choice would have been to make something that's just, forget organized real estate. We're going to make something direct-to-consumer. And the real danger there, like we experienced when Adrian was with us and we were getting the consumer perspective, people are truly best served in relationship with an agent, because they're seeing properties and meeting people every day.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only way to win. It's the only way to not have the risks you'd face as a consumer in a direct product where you don't have representation.
And 99.9% of the times, there is no cost to the buyer or to the tenant for the services. So it's a no-brainer. But I feel like I need to take out a billboard on the Gardner and say that, because it happens in every conversation with a new client. I either bring it up at the beginning, I'm like, by the way, this is how the fee works for you to work with a realtor. Or towards the very end, they say, is it okay if I ask how much you charge? Right. Because so many consumers don't realize that. So there are exceptions to the rule. That's why it's 99.9%. There are cases where there is a for sale by owner who has elected to put their property on the MLS, and the cooperating commission might be 1 cent. So it's up to us to either negotiate that or to discuss it with our buyer or to our tenant, how we'd like to handle that. And I do that upfront as soon as a property like that might come across our desk. But there's also occasionally times where the cooperating commission may not be included. But I would say 99.9% of times, I've been in real estate full time for 14 years. I can count on maybe one hand how many times I've had to have a conversation with a client that a property that we're seeing is not offering commission, and how to go through that. So the main focus is that these services are complementary to buyers and tenants in our current real estate landscape. And it's an absolute no-brainer to enlist the help of an educated realtor to help them through that process. I book all the show. First of all, I identify their needs, which is so critical. Many times people come to me and they say, oh, I want a 2-bedroom house, but I need a guest room. Oh, is that in addition to the 2 bedrooms? Yeah. So I guess I need a 3-bedroom. Okay. How many parking spots do you need? 1. Oh, but I do sometimes have a second car. Okay. So you do need a second parking spot. So through that whole discovery process, I fine tune exactly what it is they're looking for, and then search for the right properties, book the appointments, which is not as simple as just clicking book, as we discussed earlier, and ensure that the whole showing process is smooth. Like, where do you park? How do we get to the next destination? What are we going to expect when we arrive? How do we communicate our next steps? Many times walking through a home as well, you may have questions. If you're working with a listing agent, the listing agent is there to sell the property on the behalf of the seller. They're not there to help negotiate the best price for you. They're not there to notice that there might be something wrong with the ceiling that could indicate an issue. They're there to sell the property on behalf of their seller. So it's just like going into court and not having your own representation. You want to have someone on your side who's walking through the property with expertise and knowledge to point out pitfalls and questions that should be asked to clarify, to make sure it's the right property.
And get the best price for them.
And get the best price.
Because the listing agent's getting the best price for their seller.
And at the end of the day, once that offer is accepted, it is not done.
It is not
That's
done.
like an iceberg. So we have to make sure that the closing process is smooth. So whether it be a tenant setting up utilities that I'm helping Adrian and his roommates do as well, to coordinate the key exchange, to set up their tenant insurance, to make sure all of that is smooth for the start of their lease, making sure that they know details about garbage collection and what to do in certain areas of the home, so they have a smooth transition into their new property. But also, with a sale of a property as well, there's a lot to do. So from contract to close, a good real estate agent will be on the ball and will foresee the steps that the buyer or the tenant has to take in order to make everything smooth. So the key is that consumers right now don't realize that these services are complementary in 99.9% of cases. And that's the main focus here, that we need to emphasize, that having representation makes the process a lot smoother for everybody, saves them time, saves them money, and having tools like Listed makes the whole process like one step further, even smoother.
Well, I want to say kudos to you, because we're here talking about this lease, because I would say that the most confusing thing about real estate is in the lease space, because you got Facebook Marketplace and all these things, and people,
and rental scams.
Oh my gosh. Oh my God, all these things.
People on Facebook Marketplace who say that it's a $500 application fee.
Oh my gosh. Or renting out a place that doesn't exist, and then they take, Yeah,
that happens all the time, that they pretend to be the landlord and they're actually a tenant and they're subleasing it, or they have no relationship to the landlord or the tenant and they're just advertising something. I did have last year, a property that I had for sale appeared on Kijiji for lease.
What?
It was a disaster. I had to figure out who posted it. I had to immediately terminate it. But someone reached out to me on realtor.ca and said, is this property also for lease? Because I just found it on actually, was it Craigslist or Kijiji? Either way, it was on a private site, and someone had stolen my photos from my legitimate for sale listing and posted it for lease.
Unbelievable.
And good thing I found it within a couple of hours of being posted, and thank goodness to the Good Samaritan who sent me the message through realtor.ca and alerted me to this, because normally I wouldn't be searching. It wasn't listed with the address.
Yep.
So I would not have been able to find with the address that property. So I was unaware that this existed. But if someone had found this property on Kijiji or Craigslist and found this listing, maybe they would have been charged an application fee. It was an illegitimate listing.
Exactly.
So those are pitfalls that consumers can encounter at any time, and they need to be aware of that, and the proper representation will guide them through, will navigate them through.
Yes, and when I was starting to say kudos to you, I meant to say that you primarily sell and buy homes for people, but we were brought together here with this lease example because it's so opaque because of scams like this and so challenging, that we literally solved so much for Adrian, and he was willing to come and speak to us, that's how we entered this conversation. But I love how you walk people through the entire buying and selling process. And it is funny how doesn't it seem easier to buy and sell a house than to actually find someone a lease?
Quite often it can be, yeah, because the seller of the home doesn't care generally about the profile of the buyer. Sometimes the letters that talk about the buyer, it can help in a multiple offer situation, but at the end of the day, it's what's in the offer, who's paying the higher price, who has the better closing and terms.
Yep, exactly.
So in a lease situation, there's a lot more that the landlord has to consider. Also, the landlord is not done with the transaction as soon as the tenant moves in. When a seller sells their home, hands over the keys in the lawyer's office, that's done. They walk away. There's cases where they can come back, but the main thing is that the transaction is over. It is a revolving transaction with a landlord. So a landlord's best interest is having a tenant who's going to take care of the property, pay rent on time, not create extra headaches for the landlord, but also just be a complimentary, good, happy tenant. And everybody's just looking for seamless, tenants are looking for a safe, clean, place that's in good condition, that's in the right location for them to live, to call home. And landlords are looking for a tenant who's going to respect the property and be happy living there as well. So at the end of the day, the landlords do have many more extra steps to be able to vet that tenant and make sure that it's the right fit for the property.
Yes. Okay, so there's how you work with clients. Mm-hmm. So what's interesting for me as a tech provider, third-party technology provider, I work with 4 sets. Like, we make listed for the consumer to be served through organized real estate only. You have to have a realtor just because that's realtor law anyway, unless it's a for sale by owner or rent by owner. But our system, with all the lawsuits and everything that's going on, has even been slightly in danger recently. And because we know that consumers are best served through organized real estate, one of the things that we solve with all these MLSs that kind of, you hit their borders, like even we're in downtown Toronto right now, and in this building, believe it or not, there are listings that aren't on Trev because somebody else in the province of Ontario decided they wanted to list their cousin's unit and not put it on Trev. And then even when the real estate boards cross list, then you have duplicate listings and triplicate listings. It's so
Agents
frustrating.
that work in Oakville and Mississauga talk about this quite a bit. Oakville has multiple real estate boards, and
it's very hard on them because they imagine walking, you said, I work in Toronto, so I'm just part of Toronto. They can be part of the Oakville board, walk out into their own area and not see 48 to 52% of the inventory unless it's listed on more than one board.
It's not just the inventory, it's the sales history. So when you're pricing a property, when you're looking at previous transactions, you need to see the whole picture in order to give your clients the best advice in that situation.
Absolutely. So that is the main reason from a business perspective, we never pursued becoming the app of an MLS. I can't tell you how many realtors, including one of my other favorite ones from your brokerage, said to me, well, just get it in Trev and we'd all be happy. The thing is, that would be fine as long as it can be adopted at all real estate boards. So right now we're a technology provider with most of the real estate boards across Canada, 90%. And what's great about that is it effectively creates one MLS. It's like a platform of MLSs in one place. So realtors who are part of Oakville and part of Toronto, instead of giving their clients two different apps from two different boards and themselves being in two different places, if it's a Toronto listing, they log into Realm. If it's a Oakville listing, they log into Matrix. Less conveniently in Matrix, but they log into Matrix. And I'm sure Matrix will improve. But I love this idea of constantly improving the convenience, efficiency, relationship, and connection between organized real estate at the MLS level, at the brokerage level, at the agent level, and at the agent-client relationship level. Mm-hmm. Like, that's our goal.
Yeah. And it's a very important goal because everything in real estate happens very quickly. A property is listed today. It might have an offer by tonight. It might be sold by tomorrow. If we don't know about it until tomorrow, because the MLS system takes a long time to update, like some of the public websites, they can take 24 to 48 hours to update on listings. Yeah. And if it's not known, you can't make the arrangements to go see it. You could miss it. You have to be able to see in real time what's happening in the real estate industry. Also, many times a property changes price. I get an instant notification that a property that I had an alert for has now dropped its price. Now, suddenly it's dropped to a point that my buyer who said, it's not the one for me. Don't even call the agent and try and negotiate. It's just priced too high. I don't think they're motivated. Like, I'm not ready to transact. Let's just wait and see. Maybe something else will come up. Suddenly I get a notification in the middle of dinner that the property has dropped in price. I can put down my fork, share that listing to my client and say, look, it just dropped in price. And they say, oh my gosh, wow, now that is something I can consider. So I'm able to make real-time notifications. Whether or not I want to pick up my phone during dinner is another story. But the point of the matter is that we're able to make real-time decisions on how to transact in real estate because we have the information at our fingertips. It's so important. And I constantly have properties that are on alert. So I have sometimes 1,000 notifications over a weekend.
Oh my gosh.
I'm glad I'm not paying per notification, but it's fantastic. I'm able to have alerts on. Sometimes I have sellers who are saying, if I can get a good price for my home, I might consider putting it on the market, but my neighbor's house has been for sale for a while. It's not moving. I'm just not ready to take the next step. I don't know. Let's just table this until the fall. So I go in listed. I draw a map of their area, make sure I'm aware if any new listings come up right away. I also enlisted put an alert for any listings that are remotely comparable to theirs. And I can tell them within seconds. I said, hey, we've been keeping an eye on that property down the street from you. Well, it just sold. And it just sold for a great price. This could be the window that you've been looking for to list your home as well. So I'm just sharing as a realtor how I often use listed in potentially an unconventional way to just help my clients as well learn more about information. So it's all about having the information at your fingertips. It's right there. The app always loads. There's so many beautiful, high quality pictures and they just pop up right away. The map loads instantly. It's just, the interface is seamless. It's really, really great.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. I wanted to ask Adrian this. So you just reminded me of something really important, which is, well, not only as soon as he started working with you, did you find him something right away, but you know how sometimes there is inventory that's not on any MLS. And that is just because realtors have either something that's going to come soon to the MLS, or they have an exclusive that either can't be shown or for some other reason, like with your seller example there, maybe somebody wants to buy, but they don't want everyone to know. They're not sure. They want to test the market. They have an exclusive and then they're considering going, they may be over the summer when it's not generally a good time to list. And then if it doesn't sell during the summer and exclusive, for example, they'll go to MLS in the fall. That's very common. So the law changed recently to make the Realtor Cooperation policy so exclusive and coming soon listings had to meet the spirit of cooperation,
Yep.
right? Well, that's how we started, with alignment and cooperation. So where other places where you could put your exclusive and coming soon listing are hitting borders and boundaries, whether it's a capping of the number of people on that list, or, you know, agents putting stuff on a list where their competitor agent is managing the list, where you put your listings on a chat app, and it's like you're putting your seller's $5 million property on an app that you don't even know who owns the data. Like, what? So we had these 3 top brokerages come to us and say, could you make an exclusive and coming soon platform? But back to my commitment that the MLS must exist, it's our best technology and always remain the source of truth. We ended up making this exclusive and coming soon platform that we're actually just launching this week, because when the rule changed, we revamped all the structure of it to make it totally compliant. So this is what I wished I got to ask Adrian that I want to ask you. If you were looking for him for a lease, or you're looking for someone else, one of your buyer or seller clients, and you drew the map search and said, show me 4-bedroom, 2-bath, 1 parking, and there was an exclusive or coming soon to market listing in there, now you'll be notified and you'll be able to reach the listing agent. There's actually a half step where actually when you or your clients have a search, the listing agent gets a notification, not you, and then they can choose to send it to you or not.
Oh, interesting.
So it's even more privacy and protection and security for the seller and for the agent who's trying to, you know, just make sure not everyone comes through the house or whatever, just qualify the buyers that are coming, that they can actually buy it. So what do you think of this? And I don't know if you have any exclusive or coming soon listings. Like, not everybody always does that. It's usually a specific instance. But now any listing that you do have coming to the MLS, you could actually have this 3-day period where it comes a little bit of pre-marketing before it goes to the MLS and gets some lift, or reach your fellow agents when there's an exclusive.
Well, I think at the end of the day, we keep going back to making sure that the clients and realtors have the information at our fingertips. And if there's something that's delayed coming to market, often in my case, it's delayed coming to market because the photos are taken a couple days before we list, and it takes 24 hours to get the high quality edited photos back and then put them all on the MLS. So sometimes the property is available for showings a couple days beforehand. We just don't have the photos ready. So if someone's able to put up a coming soon or an exclusive with photos coming soon, well, what's great about Listed is that we can see historical pictures as well, because the old listings are connected on there as well. So that could help if you're curious about what the home may or may not look like. But just simply knowing that a property is coming soon in that area is, I mean, the more information, the better in this process.
Right. And imagine the difference in your seller presentation if you're doing a listing presentation and you say, out of the 1 million consumers in Canada here, we're basically, the minute your coming soon listing gets posted on Listed, your agent is going to get an alert of all the agents who are possibly interested in this for them to send it to. It's like AI matched interest to gain exposure for demand, the buyer demand. It's like you're getting the demand delivered to you on a platter, and then you can choose what to do with it.
Yeah, that would also be amazing. I mean, the more information that we have, the better we can present it to my clients, and the better we can move forward, whether you're on the buying side, the selling side. As a buyer, it's important to know what's coming soon, because maybe you're making a decision on a property that meets like 9 out of 10 of your criteria, thinking that there's going to be nothing else coming up. But then if you know that something else is coming up, you might comfortably wait for that to come to market. It can influence someone's decision. And of course, a seller wants to know, is there demand for my property at this price? How is the market going to respond? So if you have any data of that, that's amazing, of course. And I love especially that you're able to pivot these changes with the real estate cooperation policy. As soon as that was implemented, you're up to speed on everything in our industry. And that's so key, because you're clearly passionate about things to the next level, to the point that you are constantly educating yourself on changes as they're happening. And you have such a great agile team that's able to start implementing these as soon as they happen. I think that's what's really making the difference with listed.
Oh,
It
thank
truly
you.
is.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing to have an idea. An idea is nothing without execution. And that is all my team.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Okay, there's one thing I want to ask you then. So this exclusive and coming soon platform, it only works if the agents use it. Before the law changed, it's so much easier to just post a listing on a chat application with no accountability. Don't even have, I mean, most great agents would have their brokerage agency form signed in order to put it up, but you don't even need that. You just get onto it. With listed, they've got to complete their data agreements with their primary real estate board. We confirm that they are a legal real estate agent. In the case of exclusive and coming soon listings that aren't in their public marketing period yet, only agents see it and the public doesn't see it. So if somebody took a coming soon that wasn't supposed to be seen yet, or an exclusive, and shared it on Facebook, with listed, it's cloaked. We can see who should access it and who shouldn't access it. So it'll be like not visible, and it'll say, ask your agent. Whereas if you're on a chat group and somebody copies that link and it gets out and it gets posted somewhere, it's now out in the wild.
So maybe we should backtrack for a second and just talk about the cooperation policy so those listening can understand what it is.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So the main thing with the cooperation policy that was just introduced is that previously agents, not all, but some, would post a for sale sign on a property and say coming soon, and it would be coming soon for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks.
2 months.
2 months, and it wouldn't be on the MLS system. So a neighbor who was interested in the property could call that agent and could work out a private deal, but someone who's not driving past that house wouldn't even know it exists.
Yep.
And then also in many cases, it was a bit greed driven because the agent was hoping to also represent the buyer in those cases. So by putting the property out on the MLS system in the spirit of cooperation, a buyer agent can represent their own buyer and be paid for representing their own buyer in that transaction.
Yes.
But if they're able to secretly find their own buyer in the transaction, it's a disservice to the seller who is not exposing their property to the most number of buyers who may not be driving past on the street. Maybe they're living in the west coast of Canada and they're relocating. They're not even in this neighborhood right now. They're searching online. So in many of those cases, the property is not being exposed to the maximum number of buyers. And the key to the best transaction, the highest price, the smoothest sale, the ideal closing, the right terms that the seller wants is exposure to the most number of people.
Supply
and you get
and
that.
Demand.
Yep. And you get that through the MLS system.
Yes.
So we're not trying to compete with the MLS system. We're just trying to encourage more listings to come to the MLS systems. They can be exposed to the most number of buyers, the most number of buyer agents who are actively looking for their clients. So the cooperation policy is now limiting the coming soon period to just 3 days. And they're strict about that. If it's on the coming soon status for longer than 3 days, there are fines that can be levied. And people will take a picture and report you.
Yes.
So it's a self-enforcing policy here, and many realtors are happy about this because overall we're just looking for ethical ways to connect buyers and sellers to the right property and make the transaction smooth for everybody involved. So the coming soon period being reduced to just 3 days is actually a very good thing for our industry.
Very good.
And it's a very good thing for consumers who previously didn't have access to these properties without jumping through the hoops of the listing agent who is keeping it as a pocket listing for an indefinite period of time. So
Exactly.
It's an excellent thing, an excellent move in the right direction. And also being able to advertise some of these on a more controlled, legitimate platform other than just posting it in some Facebook group saying, coming soons and exclusives with no legitimacy behind that, knowing that everybody on the app is connected and a legitimate real estate agent, and that you have, control over the data, I think is excellent too. So it's a more seamless way for us to see these coming soon listings while also respecting the new rules. And didn't you say that they will terminate automatically?
Yes, I was just going to say, you don't even need to be worried about the rules. If you're an agent who hasn't been as caught up as you are on precisely all the rules, when they put it unlisted, it will literally only be publicly available for up to 72 hours. So they can't even make a mistake. It automatically expires so that it can then come onto the MLS. And what's interesting is you know that there are some times where it's coming soon to MLS. It is legitimately coming soon for a month and a half because they really need to empty out all the stuff.
I've had cases where the home needs new flooring, where it's getting painted. I always talk about, it's like the girl before the party, you do the everything shower, you get the self tanner, you get your hair and makeup done, you put the dress on, but in the process, or on your wedding day, for example, like at the beginning, you look like the bride that's standing at the altar. It's a process. So it's the girl before the party, and it's a process that a well-presented listing will net the highest price for the seller. We will also, many buyers, especially in today's high price and high interest rate environment, don't have funds left over for improvements to the home. And many are looking for a turnkey property. So a turnkey property that's presented well also ensures that buyers are happier, the sellers are happier. It's just better overall. So you're right, the coming soon process can take longer. So yes, we are not allowed to publicly advertise the property is coming soon for that length of time.
Okay. This is how we solve this. I want to get your opinion on this. This is like fresh. Nobody hardly knows yet. Let's say the property is going to come to MLS in 1 month. And let's say it's the 1st of July today. And it's going to come to MLS August 1st, like in 1 month. The agent can put that on listed today, July 1st. It is treated as an exclusive all the way up to July 29th. Okay, I can't do my math, but like July 28th, 29th. Okay, so 3 days at the end, that 3 days, right the day before it's going to go to market, the realtor will get an alert saying, your property is going public as coming soon to MLS for 3 days to the public tomorrow. Do you want to change the price? Do you want to write a different description? So you can, in those preceding 28 days that only realtors see it, back to cooperation, realtors know it's coming. They could tell their clients about it. It is getting exposure. That's with realtors within your brokerage or realtors that you choose in a direct one-to-one communication to share it with, which happens seamlessly unlisted. So now there is this opportunity for you to follow the rules of having it in the coming soon but not public or exclusive period, so you can do deals with your colleagues and they can let their clients know. And this public period is actually a benefit to us of the law changing, because in our system before it was truly broker only and the consumer never saw an exclusive or coming soon listing. A consumer still never sees an exclusive listing unlisted. They only see one that is intended to come to the MLS 3 days or 72 hours before it goes to the MLS. So you can put it up a month in advance. Your colleagues will see it. If they're in your brokerage or anyone you share it with, you can add a co-listing agent. You can even add an agent open house. And you could even have a public open house in that 3-day publicly available marketing period. So we've actually preserved that beauty that made the law come into being, where it's not to double end it, it's not to do these things, it's the spirit that all properties
Spirit of cooperation.
Exactly. The spirit of cooperation is baked into it. Exactly. Yeah, so we'll have to try it out for you.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm always excited when you roll out new changes to the app. They've always been positive and well received by both my clients and I.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, we went into so much on this today. I love it. I could probably talk to you all day. So I want to thank you for coming. Is there any last thing you wanted to ask me or to say before we wrap up?
Nothing specific. Just wanted to thank you for developing this app and for the love and care that you put into this app on a daily basis. And you have since the beginning, and you continue to. It truly shines. My clients are constantly telling me how much they love it. And I'm constantly opening it and realizing that this is saving me time, saving me money, making my day-to-day so much easier. So thank you again for everything that you do. I know it's not easy, especially working with real estate boards to make sure everything is compliant. It's not a simple process, but it is worth it. Just know that you're making a difference.
Thank you so much. Because you know how you love your clients?
Mm-hmm.
I love when I see a realtor's face that it does what? I can do this. My clients can share it. When you guys are happy and thriving and prospering, I'm thrilled, right? Because consumers, it's just a client love magnet for consumers to have a smooth, easy experience. But real estate is a business. So it's meant to help you attract and retain business. Mm-hmm. And it's biased to the best real estate agents. So if your agent is unlisted, they're probably really great.
Yeah, because they self-select that they want to invest in technology that's going to make their life better, make their transaction better with their clients. Absolutely. Because a top realtor is going to recognize that this app is creating benefits, not just for themselves, but also for their clients. And at the end of the day, you want experiences that your clients are thrilled about. That's how you get repeat and referral business. That's how you walk away from a transaction with a smile on your face. And that's the ultimate goal, that everybody is happy at the end. They're referring you, and the transaction went smoothly. And this is an integral tool in that process.
Thank you, 100%. And it wouldn't be possible if, like you from day one, hadn't said, oh, I'd like to see beds, bath, and parking at the bottom. So thank you for constantly helping us innovate. It's really, like even today, a team effort of everyone coming together, and it is truly collaboration.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Thank you. And thank you for giving me an opportunity to share, and for the opportunity to connect with Adrian and to help him and his roommates.
Oh, I bet he is equally happy about that. So thank you.
Absolutely. Looking forward to more to come.